All right, y'all, and welcome back. So we're going to finish this up today. We're going to go ahead and finish the soldering. We're going to double check everything, make sure we've got all of our pieces all put together like it's supposed to be. We're going to go into inav at the computer, make sure it's activated, and then we'll try to do the maiden sometime soon. So thanks for coming back, and stay tuned. Okay, so this is the replacement cable that I spoke about before that got a few of them for to change out the air units with. So what we're going to do is we don't need all these different wires, so we're going to take out the yellow and the brown and just leave in the gray and the red and black. So what you do is if you just get something underneath one of these little tabs, it pulls right out. So that's all the setup that we're going to need for this thing. We're going to go over to the to where the plane is now. You can see I took the wings off of it to make it a little bit easier so I could get the soldering done. We'll end up cutting off a good majority of these. We'll probably cut them off, only leave maybe 4 inches on there, just so that we could, the air unit's pretty close to where the plug is. So it's not going to be, we're only going to need to be able to reach from our backboard back there to this. So that's not too bad. All right, let's get some wires fitted. Cut these down to the length that we're going to, oops, sorry about that. Cut these down to the length we're going to need. So at first I was thinking that we were going to have it come off across this way. It's going to make a lot of jumble around where the USB port is. So I'm thinking that we're actually going to come off the other way so I can just kind of, when it's not in there or when it's out of the way, I can just kind of pull it out. It can be out of the way of our USB port rather than kind of going right across it. So we're not going to do any exact measurements on here. That looks like it's going to be good enough. And this wire is a lot longer than it needs to be. I realize that. Again, I'm just trying to keep it out of the way of the electronics so I can kind of go up and around rather than not have any kind of, rather than kind of going right across that USB and you having to fold it back, fold it back, fold it back to get around that, and then eventually wearing out that solder joint and it cracking up on us. And that wouldn't be good. The only ones that I'm really worried about are going to be the power ones underneath, because we want to solder to it without loosening it. And again, that's not the best way to do it. Ideally we would have a pad that would be able to power it and that we'd feel good about the power supply going to it. But we don't, and there's not. And what I don't want to do is pull that board up and try to solder underneath it and everything like that. Everything's already in there nice and neat. It all works, although it doesn't feel like it right now. But it all works really well. So I'm trying not to disturb that any more than is absolutely necessary. Because I want to try to maintain these great flight characteristics and the fact that it works out pretty good. It's been working pretty good so far. What we're going to do first is we'll tin all these ends up and make sure they're all set and ready to go. So we're going to let that all heat up. All right, let's get these tinned up. Everything's nice and warmed up now. So I'll see if I can do this and stay in frame at the same time. Yeah, these silicone wires are the greatest. Lots of times with the other plastic ones, they will melt down before you're able to get it nice and soldered on there, and that is no bueno. Oh, sorry. All right. And one of the reasons you'll see this on a box is because I've got that antenna teed out. So it's a little bit easier if it's on the box with an overhang, so I'm not bending that. Now again, I realize when I land it takes a little bit of stress, but it's not there for long. It's had a bunch of flights on it. It's not really bent up very badly now. And when I store it generally like on a box, something like this, where it's up in the air. And I have printed out a wall mount for these, so hopefully that'll take a little bit of stress off of it, and it'll just kind of wall mount from now on. I know it doesn't look it, but I'm a champion solderer. There we go. All right, that one's in good. So running on 3 cells on this, it should, again, work out perfectly for that voltage. And we know that we've got good, to be good and steady as well, too. All right, so we're going to take our white wire and hook it up to our TX. And if you can see our little pads right here, we got T6 and R6. So let's get, white wire is going to go to TX. Get that down there. Oop. Found it in the same time. I can't see that solder joint. It's on there a little bit, not my best work, but okay. So this way we still got the other wires out of the way. We'll be able to just bring it around and plug it in. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to need this. We're going to leave it close by. We're going to check and make sure that we're going to have to go into inav and enable this. DJI on inav, it's a different procedure than if you're using Betaflight. And we're going to go over that here in a couple seconds so we can see exactly what it's supposed to be. And like I said, so with these other ones, they pull in real nice and neat. This wire will stay in here when I go to use it on a different plane. And I'll just pull out the unit, plug it into a different plane, and we'll be good to go. So that's pretty much what that setup's going to be in there with the battery. So what we're going to do is we're going to move over to the computer, and we're going to take a look at it in inav, and we're going to go from there. Okay. I wanted to show you all a quick little tip. This got off Amazon, and it works great. It just goes in. So a lot of times with I've seen people drill holes in the outside of them, try to make sure they can try to get the USB connector in there, but that works pretty good. All right, let's go to the computer and see about the configuration. All right, so you can see the configuration on here. You know, as we move it, it likes to move, all that kind of good stuff. The big thing we're looking for right now is going to be under ports. If you go to the ports tab, now we know we put it on UART6. Now the big thing with Betaflight is that you would cut on the MSP. Since this is inav, we're going to go all the way over here to peripherals. Hit up right there. It says DJI FPV VTX, and that's what we're gonna hold on to for that. Save and reboot. All right. So now when we go in there, it should all be working. The one thing that we need to remember is that when we go to the OSD tab here, it is not going to show everything on our OSD. Now, I've got these things on there. However, it doesn't support all of this. It'll support battery voltage for sure. It does, I think it does amps. We're going to double check here in a couple seconds. But it won't do things like, you know, like sidebars on it. If you were to look through it right now with analog, it's going to have sidebars on it. It'll have the other thing because that's part of BrainBee's custom OSD that they put on there that you download from their website. You know, as far as these goes, we're going to leave some of these here, and wherever you leave them on here is not where they show up on in the DJI goggles, as we're going to see in a minute when we cut it on. We're going to see if it works, and you'll see that some of these will appear. They may appear way over to the side. They may appear in the middle. They may appear all over the place. A couple of them that I have had to move things almost to the middle of the screen. So actually, we're going to do a couple. We're going to move a couple over here. I like to know the voltage. I like to know the amps that I'm drawing. That'll help with my flight times as well. Distance from home and things like that. I'm not sure if it's going to. I'm not sure if it's going to tell me that or not. I don't put up the latitude and longitude. Home arrow will show up again. You'll see that we're crowding all this in the middle, but that's how it's going to show up in the. It may show up like this. It may not. I'm going to go back to the ports tab real quick because some things we're not going to use any longer. TBS Smart Audio. We're not going to be using that any longer. I don't think it's going to hurt anything to leave it, but we're going to cut it off just in case. GPS, of course, is on. One of our sensors on UART4. And we're going to go ahead and save and reboot that. It's a whole bunch of can't hurt, you know. And since it already flies pretty good, again, I'm not going to mess with too much of the other things. You know, I've got my modes tab set up and GPS and all that kind of good stuff. Of course, it's red because inside here with that particular GPS, it won't pick up satellites. But this, of course, is all redded out. It may need to be powered too. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not really paying that much attention to it right now and see. All right. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect out of this. We're going to head back to the plane. We're going to cut it on. We're going to break out the goggles. We're going to see if it works. I'm going to try to get that GoPro in there to get some GoPro footage of it, so you can see exactly how it looks when it comes up, and we'll go from there. All right. I got everything all set up, and can I take a couple seconds out here to talk about probably the most useful thing you'll ever have in your building life, if you're building just something like this, or if you're building a quad or anything like that, and that is one of these things. That's a smoke stopper, and it seems like it's something super duper easy, but I think it's very much underrated. I like mine with a switch. So you'll see here in a couple seconds when I power this to make sure that it works, I'll be able just to pop that switch on. My LED will pop on. Yeah, the LED lights. So it's a smoke stopper. It's we use it to bind all sorts of things. It's power off, power on. It makes life so much easier, and the fact that it's a smoke stopper just doubles the joy of having something like this. So we're going to get it all plugged in real quick, and we're going to check as we cut it on. We're going to check and make sure that again that our light stays off, which is a good thing, and that our and then we'll check the goggles and see what our goggles look like. Just so I'm not a schmo, we're going to cut it on, make sure that our transmitter is cut on as well too. Let's go cut on, and we'll see if we get a little bit of life out of it. All right, we're going to check our goggles, and we'll see what kind of OSD that we have in there. All those items that we put on there are not where we put them. You know how they're kind of askew everywhere. So last time what I did was just kind of held the goggles up and moved some of those items around to where they would fit in the view. You can kind of see we had it all grouped together, close to the center. You can see now some are way up to the right, some are down to the left, some are like all around. However, the picture does look good. Everything looks great with it right now. So I'm going to count that as a success. So what we'll end up doing is taking this out for a HD maiden sometime. I will definitely include some of the footage with it. But so far it looks like a success. Looks like it's getting all the info that it needs and getting taken care of. All right, so that's pretty much going to do it for now. So we've got our DJI unit installed. We've got it all wired up to the flight controller. We've gone through inav to make sure we have all of our ports all configured the way they're supposed to be. So the next thing is to really get out and try to fly it. Unfortunately, up here the weather hasn't been the best. It's been raining a lot, and then with my work schedule is treacherous. But I will definitely try to get out as soon as I can to give it a toss. We'll see how it goes. The DVR doesn't ever show any of the OSD footage on there, mainly because it's not generated in the flight controller. The image doesn't come from the flight controller, so like it does with analog. So it's even though we're seeing it in there, the DVR doesn't pick it up. So we'll get the flight in there. I'll get some footage posted up for that. It should fly great. It looks like it's all set up like it's supposed to be, and we'll see how it goes. And I appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time. Satellites. I have a quad that last night sitting down here. I'm in kind of the bottom of the house here. it picks up, I think I had 10 satellites on that thing, which is just unheard of.